Elizabeth Hamburg. I'm the Executive Director of the Joe Negro Foundation, and I'm excited to be here today with Think Neurology for Kids. I have Dr. Marchesano and Dr. Varghese here today, and we're excited. They're our AVM awareness sponsor, and so we're excited to have a special story today and for you to hear a little bit more about their practice.
So we are Think Neurology for Kids. Dr. Varghese and I are the owners, and we are an outpatient pediatric neurology clinic with locations in the Woodlands, Katy, Sugar Land, and Austin. We see patients with neurological, developmental, and most recently psychiatric needs. Some examples of patients that we see are people that have concussions, migraines, headaches, seizures and epilepsy, developmental delay, autism, learning issues, and mood disorders.
I had a story that I came across a couple of years ago. One of our employees, Hope, has a daughter, Dion, that I met. And as I met her, she told me a story of how she had this headache and fainted and ended up having an AVM. And she acted like it was just part of life. And I was like, you need to share this with the world. So we brought Hope here today to tell us that story of what's going on and to bring awareness to AVMs.
My name is Hope Denton. My daughter's name is Dion Denton. She was 16 years old at the time that she had an AVM. It was July 29th of 2013 when she was home alone watching a movie on Netflix, and she felt a sudden headache. And the next thing she knows, she woke up and she was on the floor by her bed. When she called 911, she described herself as having a headache and she felt lethargic, and she wanted help. And so they told her to go to the front door and unlock it. That's what she did. She made it to the front door and she collapsed. When the ambulance arrived, she was straddled across the front door, and so they had to push their way into the home. And they got her on the stretcher, took her to Cy-Fair Hospital. And one of the nurses that was coming into work, whose name was Doreen Gonzalez, she noticed that Dion was in the corner and that Dion had aspirated on herself. The assumption from the paramedics was that she had done some type of drug and maybe was coming out of it. But the nurse's assumption was, let's get some imaging done. And so that's what they did. And they took her in for a stat CAT scan, and that's when they saw the AVM. The ER physician comes and tells me that she has an AVM and that they're gonna try to get her out to the medical center as fast as possible. At the time, I was working with Dr. Jeremy Slater, and I called him. And when I called him, I was crying, I was screaming, I was panicking, please help me. Dion has a brain bleed. So when I said that to him, he said, calm down, I'll call you back. Well, the next thing I saw was he had called Life Flight at Memorial Hermann in the Med Center. Life Flight was dispatched to Cy-Fair Hospital in Cypress, Texas. Within 4 hours' time, she was taken to a procedure room at the hospital, and the bolt was put in. And Dr. P-Rock Chin, who was the top neurosurgeon at that time, he came and he told me, he said, I'm gonna take care of Dion. He said, I know who you are, and just believe me, she's gonna be okay. They did the surgery that morning just as he had promised. Him and Dr. Shu, Dr. P-Rock Chin, and Dr. Edward Shu took Dion to the OR, and she stayed in the OR operating room about 4.5 hours. And when he came out, he explained to me that he had done a facelift, and that he had he had clipped the aneurysm, and he was saying there was a 5% chance that it would rupture again, but he guaranteed me she would be okay. The second day, they started turning the sedation down a little bit to see if she would respond, and thank God she did. The nurse allowed me to ask her to squeeze my hand, and she did squeeze my hand, and it was a powerful squeeze. I'll never forget it. And so they began to turn the sedation down more. I began to get, closer and closer to her ear. And I told her, how much I loved her and to please fight. And she woke up. And when she woke up, she wanted to get up. And so, of course, the nurse and I are both, excited. And Dr. Shu comes in and he goes, Dion, are you up? And she opened her eyes and she looked at Dr. Shu and she said, yes, I am. Can I get up? I have to pee. That's the humor in it. I'm sorry. But she walked out of the hospital, took her home. She was able to recover at home. So I just want to encourage someone today and thank Dr. Varghese and thank Dr. Marchesano for allowing me to work at Think, and then for also allowing me this platform to share my story. Thank the Joe Negro Foundation for allowing me to share my story, and just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Thanks, Hope, for that story. It's vital that people hear stories like yours to keep people safe.
And the key takeaway point here is that speed is key. So if you ever are really worried or have a weird feeling, call 911 because it can save your life. And if you ever need us, Think Neurology for Kids, you can find us online at thinkkids.com.
Well, thanks so much, Think Neurology for Kids, Dr. Varghese and Dr. Marchesano. And you can find more information about AVMs at www.joenecrofoundation.org. And you can also find support groups that are in person and online through our website.